And during the break, every different person would pull me. Were you speaking about when you come to me? Because it turned out to be a number of African countries have the same exact thing, where there's nothing wrong with stealing, it's not reprehensible, it's not punishable by law. So then what do we see in this example? We see a society, a given society, they decided on a certain, they took a certain issue or a certain value, and they said this is acceptable for the purposes of our community. One thing you kind of find to be universal is that universally, for the most part, human life is considered to be sacred. For the most part, wherever you go, you don't find anywhere where they consider killing a human being is the same as stepping on an ant, for example. So human life is sacred, but beyond that, it's a free-for-all. You find certain people, they take this certain value, and it's acceptable to them. And that thing is not acceptable to them. So in certain ancient cultures, pedophilia was okay, it was acceptable. There was nothing wrong with it. So if you live in that society, you could be a good person and a part-time pedophile, but by your definition, you're a good person. And I give examples closer to home, where, for example, now, there are certain things in society, and at least I can speak for the United States, so that way I stay safe with the Canadians. In the United States, there are certain things that are not acceptable that have become replaced with euphemisms, and they've been given a new definition and have become acceptable. So, for example, you don't find young people in the States saying, well, I fornicated last night. They don't say that. They give a euphemism in its place. They make it sound good. They make it sound innocent. So what happens? We made love. So it's like we made hearts and Hallmark cards and little music, and we just passed out love, Very innocent, very nice. Or we slept together. Does it get any more innocent than that? She was over there, she slept, and I slept over here, and I dreamt of bunnies and bears, and it sounds so nice. But it's a euphemism. So now in society, that kind of thing is considered, alright. Even certain things that are still frowned upon, we still have a nicer name for them. Like nobody says, you committed adultery. You have an affair. It's an affair. It's still bad, but it's an affair. It's not adultery. You're not an adulterer. It's an affair, on the side, So, every society will pick certain things and say, well, this is good, and this is acceptable. So that means you can't have human beings by themselves to decide, I'm going to be a good person as long as I'm good, then God will take care of me. Because if you're in that African country where I used to live, you can be a very good person and the best crook in the neighborhood. But you might do something that you think is good, but it's actually reprehensible or horrendous in the sight of Allah. And that's why human beings need Allah to tell them right from wrong. Need Allah to tell us about these things. Because on our own, we can't come to an agreement, and we can't really determine what is good and what is bad beyond the things that are, for the most part, universal. So, if there is a God, and a lot of times you hear people say, look, I believe there is a God, but I don't believe that there is a resurrection. I don't believe that we will be resurrected and we will be tried in the next life or anything like that. There is a God, He put us here on this earth, and you live once. So you live life to the fullest. Dance like no one is watching, and all the other things, fancy things that people say. Just enjoy life, you live once, that's it. If there is a God, then we can guarantee for sure and 100% that if there is a God, then there has to be a day of resurrection. Because if there is a God and there is no resurrection, there is no reward and there is no punishment, that would imply that that God is unfair. It's unfair if there is no reward and no punishment. It's extremely unfair. So let's take a scenario. As this person claims that there is a God, but there is no resurrection. So let's take an example of one person who does good his or her entire life, constantly giving of their time and of their wealth to charity, always smiling and saying kind words and doing so much for the community and for others and for the poor. And then that person dies and they go to earth. Now they go to the earth, they bury it there. According to this argument, there is no resurrection. Another person, a murderer, a killer, a thief, the worst human being possible. They kill thousands of people, and then this person dies and they're buried on earth. There is no resurrection. Did they go to the same place? They went to the same place. They're both buried on earth, and that's it. Nothing happens. No reward, no punishment. And this person claims that there is a God, and this God, he must be knowledgeable, he must be powerful, he must be wise, he must be fair, he must be just. So how can he be fair and just and not reward and not punish? You know, even everyone in this room, we understand the concept of retribution. We understand that there has to be a reward for something good and a punishment for something evil. That's why we have courts, that's why we have prisons and justice systems. And that's why we have rewards and award ceremonies, because we believe in rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior. Even children understand this concept. Even they know when they do something wrong, they will be punished. But you might ask, well, maybe, you might argue, maybe the parents taught them that. But there are certain things, such as the concept of retribution, that animals and children understand, without anyone giving them a lesson about it. And I always give the example, you can go to the Calgary Zoo, and you can offend the local monkey in its cage. And if you do something to offend the monkey, they will get even with you. And they will fling something at you, and let me not be more descriptive than that. But do take a change of clothing and perhaps an umbrella. This monkey understands the concept of getting even with someone. And there are many other animals that do it. One of my favorite examples is one bird that's referred to as the honey guide, which guides you to honey. Whenever it finds a beehive, it will come to you and look you directly in the eye, and it starts to sing and flutter its wings and jump up and down, and so you follow it and move to the next branch, and it keeps guiding you to where there is a beehive. And the deal is that you're supposed to, and human beings, they use whatever techniques of smoke and so forth, and then they remove the honey, and then you're supposed to leave some for this bird, and it eats. But there are some people who are very mean-spirited. They eat the honey, and then they throw it into the ground and they stomp it into the dirt. So the bird comes down and it finds nothing to eat whatsoever, but it's a very nice bird. It says, don't worry, I know where there's more honey. And it keeps looking you directly in the eye, fluttering its wings and singing and calling you, and you keep following it until it will lead you to the territory of a dangerous animal that will attack you. This is a bird. It understands the concept of retribution. The bird understands reward and punishment. You don't reward it by giving it the honey. It will punish you. And sometimes it leads you to a hole in the tree, you stick your hand in, a badger or some other animal starts tearing at you and biting, scratching. This bird understands this concept. How can it be that the Creator in His wisdom and in His justice doesn't understand the concept of rewarding people for the good that they do and punishing people for the evil sins that they commit? And so therefore, there has to be a day of resurrection. And if there is a day of resurrection, that means then God has to let His truth be clear to us, His message be clear to us as well, so we can know how to avoid the hellfire and how to enter into paradise. The other thing why people need Allah and why people need God is that the human being is created out of the body and the spirit. Every one of us here, we're a combination of the body and the spirit. The Islamic explanation is that life is this relationship between the body and the spirit. The minute the spirit leaves the body, that's the end of life. So because we're created of the body and the spirit, we have to take care of both. Not one, but both. The majority of people are only taking care of one. The majority of people are taking care of the body. How do you take care of the body? You eat, you drink, you sleep, you take care of the body. But then there is the spirit. And that's why you find people who have reached the epitome of taking care of the body, that they're very, very rich. They don't have to, let's say, go to work. They can sleep in if they like. They don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from or the next drink. They've actually taken care of and satiated all the needs of the body. Those people, they still find this emptiness inside. That emptiness is the need of the spirit. That's why you always find people believing in something. And even those who are atheists and don't believe in anything, most of the time you'll find that they believe in some kind of spirit, some kind of UFO, some kind of